The three books that I've written are all very, very different books. The first book that I wrote, The Alchemy of Desire, was really about love and desire. And so its language was very lyrical, its tonalities were very lyrical, they were very aesthetic. The second book that I wrote was a very strongly political book. It was the big India novel. It was about the underclass of India. It was the counter-narrative on India. Its tone is very hard. Its language is hard. Its tone is hard. It's very brutal. The new book, The Valley of Masks, is actually very meditative in its tone because its concerns are deeply philosophical. And the form I chose for it was really the form of a fable, an allegory. And the reason was that I wanted to remove it from any obvious context. The first two books are very culturally and linguistically rooted. They're rooted in India. This book is my most universal book, and I wanted that universal tonalities to be present everywhere. I wanted anyone reading this book to be able to enter the book easily. So I hope the desire of the reader to understand and know the story of this Wafadar who has run away from this valley will drive the reader to go from page to page to understand what it was that this Wafadar was part of, what it was that this Wafadar loved so much, what is it that drove the Wafadar away from the cult, and why is the Wafadar today waiting to be killed? I just imagined that this cult would have had constructed an elaborate aesthetic idea of murder, of basically killing. And the methodology the Wafadars use, who are great warriors, who are trained from childhood to be great warriors, who are almost like ninja warriors or oriental warriors of some kind. I mean, these warriors are trained in using these hardwood pins with which they can, with great accuracy, either maim a person or kill a person. And so that was kind of just an elaborate ritual of killing. This is how closed systems stay together. They develop these little tics, these rituals with which they hold themselves together. So men build myths to oppress other men, to control other men. That process is what I wanted to examine, how men go from the beauty of the seed idea to the management and exploitation of myths, which are then used to oppress and control other men. The fact that all the followers of Om will end up wearing the same mask and look exactly the same came from the idea of equality pursued to its most absurd end. So, I mean, the cult wants everyone to be equal. And so the idea of equality, which can never be achieved really, the most superficial and idiotic manifestation of that becomes the mask. So the mask, in a sense, becomes a metaphor for a kind of mad pursuit of the idea of equality. It's a criticism not so much of India, but it's a criticism of closed systems of belief everywhere. In a sense, the book is a cry against collectives that become dangerous and become corrosive. It's a cry for individualism in many ways. It's a cry for manyness. It's a cry for a belief in multiplicity. So it's really about that we are only safe when we are willing to embrace complexity. My belief is, which I hope comes through in the book, that the world is a very complex place and human beings are very complex. To try and oversimplify them is a very dangerous thing. The first legacy is the legacy of Hinduism. Hinduism is it's a teeming, complex, multiple religion. It's a school of thought. I'm an atheist. I'm not a religious man. But philosophically, I claim myself to be a Hindu because I understand the beauty of the multiple nature of Hinduism. So I'm an obvious recipient of this multiple legacy. The second equally important legacy is the legacy of the founding of India. The idea of India that the founding fathers came up with 60 years ago was an idea of tolerance, of liberalism, of compassion, of multipleness. I mean, the diversity lay at the very heart of the founding of India. Unlike other countries, unlike even Pakistan, everything the founding fathers constructed, all the documents they wrote, the Constitution of India, everything celebrated diversity, which means we embraced complexity. So in that sense, I come from what I believe is the most complex country in the world. 1,200,000,000 people divided across 1,000 different lines. So it's easily the most complex country in the world. And I do believe that the experiment of India is crucial to the future of the world. Because if India succeeds, then the world will also follow the same template. Because at the end of the day, the entire world is going to become a melting pot. Every city of in this world is going to be a melting pot of languages, religions, ethnicities, beliefs. Every city, which India already is.